I mean, you've never seen people drink out of a grayish green puddle that cows are drinking out of, and then they're drinking out of, and then all of a sudden they see this crystal clear water come out of a well, and they start singing and dancing and celebrating because they can't believe it.
Talk about before this, right? Because you're working as a youth pastor. You're also working for Youth for Christ, inner city in Sacramento, right? You're doing a ton of work there, and now all of a sudden there's an opportunity that opened up, and you take a step of faith, right, to move towards it. So talk about a little bit of that transition, so people can get kind of feel for how this all came about.
Yeah, this is like a miracle. It's like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fire furnace. It's like Jonah with the great fish. I mean, it's like this incredible thing that God did. And what happened, it was about 2005. It was after I was your youth pastor. I was the college pastor at my home church, running a huge college group and worship service for college and career age people. And I was in charge of missions. And I actually went to Uganda. I think it was about 2005. And while we were there, I watched 2 borehole wells be dug. I didn't know I was going to see that there. I was just there to do VBS with the kids and to lead this group of 12 college students on a life-changing mission. But I watched these wells get dug by hand, and then they brick it, they concrete it, and then they put the apparatus in, and literally fresh water comes out. I mean, you've never seen people drink out of a grayish green puddle that cows are drinking out of, and then they're drinking out of, and then all of a sudden they see this crystal clear water come out of a well, and they start singing and dancing and celebrating because they can't believe it. They've never seen that. And so that was my experience. I met this man named Peter, and he was standing with me. He was one of the workers. And I said, "Did you get a well like this in your village?" And he said, "Yeah, I did 5 years ago." I said, "What happened?" And he started like this. He said, "We were 7. My family had 7 children, but only my sister and I made it past the age of 3. He said, "Every week someone would die in our village. We did funerals constantly, and then the well went in." He said, "And then people stopped dying, but people were still sick." He said, "And then 6 months later, people weren't even sick anymore." He said, "I looked at my sister and I said, 'Do you think it's the water?' They didn't even know." And I was just blown away. I couldn't even, I mean, we just turn on a faucet, right? Some of us won't even drink out of our faucet. We only drink water bottles, and we pay extra money to get, fresher water. And I was shocked. I said, "Peter, how much do these wells cost?" And back then, this was probably 2005. He said, probably $4,000 total for the entire well. And I was like, I'm a youth pastor making absolutely nothing. But I know some people. I bet you I could go back to America and just talk to some people and raise money to do a well. And so I kind of established in my heart, I'm going to do that. And I went home. My oldest son, Caleb, was already born. Tyler was born right afterwards. And you know how you of all people, Brett, know about having a lot of little kids. And I never did it. I kind of blew it. I had this opportunity and I bypassed it. About 10 years went by. Now my kids are older. They're playing Little League and doing all kinds of stuff. And I was preaching in my local church, and I was doing a message on discipleship, and I was talking about this story in Uganda as a self-deprecating message. So I was talking about discipleship, and I said, this is how God works in your life. He gives you an innate passion. He gives you this passion that's built into you because you're created in the image of God. And then he gives you an experience that brings that passion to life. You might not have even known that passion was there, but you have this experience and it fans that spark into a flame. And now you're excited. This passion comes to life. And then, so the passion and then the experience and then an opportunity comes. And that's the moment of choice for us as people. The opportunity comes in an area where we've had an experience that's lit our passion into a flame. And we have 2 choices. We can say yes or no. And if we say no, what ends up happening is God seems very distant. Our prayer life becomes very weak. We feel that our faith is stale, that maybe God has abandoned us. And it's because we're in our comfort zone. But we also can say yes. And when we say yes, he takes us on this journey of something bigger than us, where we have to trust him. It drives us to our knees in prayer. He shows up in ways that we never could imagine, and it builds our trust in him. So I'm preaching this message on that, and I talk about Uganda, and I say, hey, I had this experience. I could have went. God could have did something amazing to save lives, but I was busy. I had kids. I said no. And I'm not responsible for any of the people that died because I didn't do those wells. But man, I missed out on God doing something incredible in my life. That was on a Sunday. Tuesday, one of the college students from 10 years before that went on that trip, who didn't attend my church, since then he had become a professor at William Jessup University. He calls me and he says, hey, you might not know this, but I've been going to Uganda every year since you took me. It was just been a passion for me. And I've always done the regular building project, VBS, but now I'm a professor and I want to talk to pastors and men about being an authentic biblical man who takes care of their family and takes responsibility for their life. Would you consider coming with me? And I was like, did you hear my message? I just talked about this. He's like, no, I didn't hear your message. I said, I literally just talked about this and about how I said no. I said, this is a crazy thing, but I'll tell you what, talk to your contact. If he's able to do wells, I'll consider it, because I literally feel convicted. I just preached on this. So he calls me back the next day and he's like, you're not even going to believe this, but the local well maker for the Kamuli district in Uganda attends this guy's church. And he said he'll do it for the Uganda price if you're willing to come. And now I feel like I have to do something. So I did what no one should ever do. I started bartering with God. Okay, God, I'm really busy. I got 2 kids. I'm the coach of the Little League team. I'm a pastor at this church. I do not have time to travel to Uganda and do these wells. But I'll tell you what, I think it probably is going to be about $12,000 for me to get there, do 2 wells, and I'm going to make a list of 12 people. And I'm just going to call these people. And if you provide $12,000, I'm going to take that as a sign that you want me to go. And if you don't provide it, I'm going to take that as permission not to go. So this is my prayer. And so Saturday morning, so I preached on Sunday. The guy called me on Tuesday. Wednesday, he said, the well guy's there. We can do it. Saturday, I have my list of 12 people, childhood friends, people that had been in my ministry, guys like you, Brett. I get on the phone. I get through 6 calls. I have $18,000 already. Now, for people that are listening and that are really wealthy, might say, oh, what's the big deal? $18,000. For me as a pastor making like $42,000 at that point a year, that was like unbelievable. That was like 6 months wages that came in 2 hours of phone conversations. These people were like, we're in. That is like so exciting. So I went, I did the wells. I came back. I told a couple of my buddies, you got to go with me. We went back, we did 3 more. I'm flying back. One of my buddies he was a high school leader when I spoke on Catalina Island. He texts me and he's like, I just saw what you did. I want my church in Colorado to be involved. Can I meet you there? I said, I'll meet you in Dubai. They come, we do 9 more. Next thing we know, churches are like, hey, there's a lot of need there. Can we build a school? So we build a school. So we have a school that has over 400 orphans of people that have died of AIDS or waterborne disease. Then I go back and the imam of the mosque comes to us and he says, I want to give my life to Jesus. And we go, why? He goes, I hated that you came. I hated that you came. I hated that you put this well in my village and it said water of Jesus well. And then he paused and he goes, but I need water. So every day when I get water, I have to accept the fact that Jesus gave this water to me. And one of the special things about water of Jesus well is the Muslim wells are only for Muslims. But when I put these wells and I dedicate them, the first question I ask is, who here has lost a child to waterborne disease? Every mom raises their hand, every single one, every time. That's how prevalent the death of these young kids drinking ground water is. Second thing I say is, this is a gift from God to you. Not if you're a Christian, not if your life is all together. This is a gift from God. He causes the sun to rise on the righteous and the wicked. He loves you. Time is short, but this is the day of salvation. You can receive this gift from him. And guess what? He has greater gifts for you if you're willing. He wants to know you and have a relationship with you. And it just transformed that whole area. Like I said, 400 Ugandans baptized in the Nile, which is insane. I had no intention that was going to happen, and it just did. So that's a little bit of the background. It literally has been an Old Testament miracle.